This Valentine's Day, get a Heart Baker pizza from Papa Murphy's. You complete us. And we mean that literally. With Take and Bake, we prepare it, you make it yours. So make us yours today. Papa Murphy's. Change the way you pizza.
The Utah Jazz got torched by an undermanned Dallas Mavericks team, and it's pretty remarkable to me that the Dallas Mavericks are without Luka Doncic, they're without Kyrie Irving, they're without Dorian Finney-Smith, like they're without all these dudes, and yet still the Utah Jazz lose by double digits in a game they were favored by 9 points in. And before we talk about all the distractions of trades, the bigger issue for me is that I don't believe that Will Hardy has done a good enough job working the defensive end of the court for the Utah Jazz. And I understand he's a rookie coach. I understand he's got development to do on his own. But, Jake, at some point, Will Hardy has to be held accountable for the fact that this Utah Jazz team is not very good defensively.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear what's taking place with this team on the defensive end. And I think it starts before they even step on the court. I mean, last night, is a great example of a performance where I feel like you walk out there and you felt like you were just going to run away with this game. You felt like you could just show up and this would be an easy win because, they're going through the Kyrie trade and Luka's not playing and they're shorthanded or whatever. And that's just not the case in the NBA. I got news for you. Even the worst player on an NBA roster is one of the best players in the world. And I think people lose sight of that. People lose sight of, hey, these guys, even if you're the worst player on any given roster, you're the last guy coming off the bench, you're still a damn good basketball player. And given the correct opportunity, you're going to put the ball in the hole. And to me, I look at this performance and I just felt like, man, like Dallas just came out and said, you know what, we're going to run. We're going to get out in transition. We're going to run and try to create some stuff. And whether that's going to be an open three in transition or we're going to get all the way to the basket, I don't know. But that's going to be our strategy tonight. And lo and behold, what do you know? They got out and outworked and outran the Utah Jazz. And defensively, I just didn't feel like there was a ton of want to last night. That's kind of what it felt like. It kind of felt like, well, this Hardy cat from Dallas, who's the last guy on their bench, yeah, we don't need to check him, even though he's 4-6 from three, and, it's all net, and he doesn't need a rim.
But what does that mean when you say it didn't feel like there was a whole lot of want to? Is it a loose ball thing? Is it
I didn't feel like you were disciplined on your assignments and working that hard. How many times is Hardy going to be wide open on the weak side wing? How many times is that going to happen last night?
So, but again, the question I'm asking you is that an individual player not making an effort? Is that a systematic problem? Because I think when we're talking about guys like Will Hardy and we're talking about whether or not he's done a good enough job coaching defense, we need to be specific about that because it's easy to roll up and say, hey, this team's bad defensively. Here are my problems specifically with their defense. They don't get back in transition. That ball, they take a shot and they kind of hang out. The ball goes through the hole. Okay, cool. We scored a point. Hey, high five, high five. They're back getting a fast break layup. You're not getting back and defending. Your rotations on this Jazz team were so bad last night that you have a guy standing in the corner wide open for a three, and you don't have somebody even running out to him with any kind of urgency to get a hand up. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, like their pick and roll switches were terrible last night. It's one of these things, though, that this isn't isolated to last night. Yeah. And after the game, again, I know that Mike Conley was talking about how friends were texting him and saying, welcome to Chicago. And then Conley talked about how he went to Twitter and was looking to see if he had gotten traded. I understand that there are trades hanging over this team, and absolutely, Danny Ainge needs to make trades. There's no doubt about that. But what I'm telling you is this is an effort, this is a want to, and this is a poor coaching problem.
Yeah, and the whole not communicating on the pick and roll and not communicating on defense, I've been seeing that since, the first week of the season. I mean, the only difference is that the first week of the season you had the built-in reason of, hey, it's the first week of the season. And now, I mean, I'm not saying that, it's every possession where they don't communicate. I mean, they obviously work on it and they're trying to be better about it. But here nor there, like, it's just when you play a team that is going through what Dallas is going through and they don't have any kind of, superstar player playing last night and they don't have some guy that is just outright better than you, it's inexcusable to not communicate in the pick and roll. It's inexcusable not to, get back in transition. And that to me is why, I think today, Will Hardy's got to have some responsibility on this one, because I feel like, and again, I'm not in the room. I didn't hear the message before the game, obviously. I'm just going off of what I saw on TV last night watching this game. I have to believe the message last night was, hey, they're definitely going to run. You need to get back in transition, yada, yada, yada. I would guess that was the message, but it just didn't stick last night. And sometimes that happens in sports where players, the players are going to do what they want to do, but you're not that team right now. They should be.
Yeah, See, again, I think we're talking around it. I'll go directly at it and say Will Hardy's got to be a better coach. I mean, he's got to do a better job, whether it's his sense of urgency, because I'm with you. I agree with you. This is not a once-a-month thing.
I don't want to sit here and say that the guy should take a ton of heat for this performance last night.
Well, no, he should take a ton of heat. I totally disagree with you. This is not a one-off incident. This is night in and night out. This team gets beat back on defense. It's night in and night out that they are simply not willing rebounders. It's night in and night out that, hey, you're going to be undersized. You're going to need to find guys who are more physical, who are more capable rebounders. We've talked about this for 2 months. Yet you're not playing a guy like a Talon Horton-Tucker. And the thing that really drives me crazy is you are playing Udoka Azubuike, who's not an NBA caliber talent, yet he gets 10 minutes last night and THT gets none. This is a coaching problem, certainly. And I am of the belief that Will Hardy has to do a better job. I'm not sitting here telling you to fire Will Hardy. I'm not telling you he's the wrong hire. You've got to have a higher level of accountability for your head coach, because while you may be a mid-table and really at this point a lower-end NBA franchise right now in the Western Conference, you're still in a playoff spot. And this kind of effort last night doesn't show me that these guys are fighting to be here. What this kind of effort last night shows me is this is a distracted, unfocused, ill-prepared team who thought because they were 9-point favorites that they were going to come out and roll Dallas. And I'm telling you now, it's just not good enough.
Yeah.
At some point, somebody's got to walk up to Will Hardy and say, you need to get your act together on defense. And by the way, stay your ass home from the All-Star game and get a game plan together. Because when the All-Star break is over, I expect this team to be significantly better on defense. End of story. This idea that you don't need to come out and work hard is simply not good enough. The idea that every guy last night shooting out of the corner has a clear look at the rim because you don't have a guy running out with his hand up. And because the guy who is running with his hand up is late and it's not affecting his ability to see the rim.
Yeah.
You got to be better than this defensively. It's the NBA. And I don't even care about the talent deficit on this team. They were without their 4 best players. They were without their 2 all-star starters in Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, and they still ran your ass off your home floor at altitude when they play in freaking Dallas on a daily basis.
That's right,
It's unforgivable. And I'm not telling you, again, don't please go to Twitter and all your little message boards and say, oh, well, Monty's talking about firing Will Hardy. I'm not talking about firing Will Hardy. But if we're talking about player development and David Fizdale is here to develop guys, we need a situation where somebody goes to Will Hardy and says, okay, look, dude, we got to sit down and you need to work on these things on your defense. Hey, Will, what are you seeing with the club right now defensively? Because here's what I'm looking at. Mm-hmm. And who is that guy? It better be Danny Ainge. It better be, David Fizdale. Because the other thing that I think is it has me a little concerned, and again, I'm not trying to go way over the top with this. I feel like Ryan Smith is meddling, and I'm a little concerned about it.
What does that mean?
I feel like Ryan Smith is a guy who's all buddy-buddy with his players, and let me put my arm around you. And there was a video last night of Ryan Smith presenting Lauri Markkanen with a basketball for the All-Star, becoming an All-Star reserve. Jazz Bear is there, and they're taking a group photo. He pushes, essentially, Jazz Bear leaves, and Lauri Markkanen turns to go, and Ryan Smith grabs him and says, hey, we're going to take a picture together now. And it's like this cool kids thing. And this goes back to Travis Scott. this goes back to why is Dwayne Wade, when he is rarely in town anymore, when he used to be in town for every home game, why are Ryan Smith and Dwayne Wade sitting in different parts of the building? What happened to buddy? We're sitting together like we're owners of the team. What happened to that? Ryan Smith is a tech billionaire. I get it. He's like 15 years old, because that's how this appears to me. Look at the clothing line that they released yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
Did anybody notice that? What is this clothing line they released yesterday?
Counterpoint.
Like, what is this?
Yeah.
I don't understand. The counterpoint thing, whatever. It's the same clothing. It just has the awkward block letters that say counterpoint on it. So it's got the Jazz logo and it says counterpoint.
Uh-huh.
What are we countering with? And what's the point?
Well,
like, I don't get it.
To make money. That's the point. I mean, that's what, when I saw the clothing line thing come out, I was tweeting about it and I said, I don't know, can't really speak to the quality of this stuff. I'd have to get it in my hands. I do think that when you compare it to, like, from a visual perspective, I feel like they're trying to be Off-White from Nike. I feel like they're trying to be that kind of feel, that sort of niche, if you will. And it's priced reasonably. You've got things that are $40 and $50, like, for that caliber of, line. I mean, that's a decent price. But again, that's not really the point. The point is that you've just released a clothing line just short of the All-Star break, and it feels like you're trying to make money on it. And I get it. That's cool. Like, I don't have an issue with you making money on the clothing line, but I tend to agree that I do think that, and I've kind of felt this way for a while about Ryan, and I don't think this makes him a bad guy or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But I do think he likes to be trendy owner guy. I do think he likes to, I think his mindset is, we're going to be as forward thinking as possible. We're going to do things that nobody else is doing because it's, I guess because it's cool or because it's, innovative or, whatever words you want to use. And that's kind of where, when we're talking about Will Hardy and the defense and basketball and things like that, that's kind of where I feel like, hey, is there a risk here that because Ryan is so worried about the All-Star game and a new clothing line and, taking pictures with Lori, that we're losing sight of the basketball floor? That's what I'm a little curious about. And I know it's not, like Ryan's only responsibility to make sure that this ball club wins games. Frankly, that's Danny's responsibility. If we're being really honest, like he brought Danny Ainge and company in to win more basketball games. That's just the reality of the situation. But also the reality of the situation is you're the owner of the club. So it is your responsibility to go out and make the team better. So I look at everything going on with the Utah Jazz and I say, I see a lot of noise happening, a lot of distraction, clothing line, Travis Scott, Delta Center, any number of things happening in the community. This presser they did yesterday where Ryan Smith is talking about, I gauge, I can't remember exactly what he said, but basically he said something like, I gauge where a city's at based on how many cranes are in the sky, and I see a lot of cranes in the sky in Salt Lake. Basically talking about how the city is being, built and it's moving forward, and we're innovating. And so my point in all of this, not to get lost in it, but my point is just that right now, I feel like Ryan Smith is more focused on the All-Star game than he is on winning basketball games. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, I just think this is a very young organization, and a lot of mistakes are being made. And I think right now you have to really be calculated, and you have to make moves that are going to change the direction of this franchise. And I don't think anything's lost, and I'm not telling you everything's doom and gloom. But what I saw yesterday, starting from that presser, through the Lauri Markkanen photo, through the just absolute lackluster attitude and performance last night, this is becoming more commonplace now, where the Jazz just come out and have these games where they're just not very good. And you have the talent there. I don't think anybody can deny that Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, like Colin Sexton last night had moments that I haven't seen from him yet.
Yeah.
The explosions offensively, his stepping into a passing lane last night. Like, we're seeing development in Colin Sexton. I look at Lauri Markkanen and I'm like, wow, that dunk last night off the alley-oop from, Mike was unbelievable. But then we get moments where I think the Salt Lake Stars are better than the Utah Jazz, especially on the defensive end. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and I think that, I just an interesting take is that 2 weeks ago at practice, I believe it was Eric Walden was tweeting about the fact that the Jazz spent, I think it was 30 minutes where every single player on the roster was tasked with making a certain amount of free throws.
Right.
And this team last night had a pretty good night from the line, I must say. I mean, you're 88% from the line as a team. That's pretty damn good. So my point with that is I don't think that this team somehow is not able to adjust and get better at things and work on things. But to your point, the defense needs to pick up. And I know we're at the trade deadline, and Mike's got to worry about it, and JC. And
JC talked a lot about it last night. Yeah,
I get it. I get it. At the same time, though, with all due respect, I'm not going to feel sorry or feel bad or anything like that for these guys because it's a business.
Well, but it's also not an excuse.
Yeah,
it's not an excuse to. I mean, the bigger issue here is you already, as a fan, are coming to this game, and Luka and Kyrie are not going to play.
Mm-hmm.
So you're coming into this expecting the Jazz to win, and they just didn't show up.
Yeah.
And I think that's a major issue. All of our Utah Jazz talk and NBA talk presented by Quick Quack Car Wash on the Monty Show. Make sure you get to your local Quick Quack Car Wash. I love it mainly because they're entrepreneurs. It's a local business, man. These guys work hard to build their business. These guys work hard to give you great customer service. And when you hear Quick Quack Car Wash, you automatically assume, hey, that's a good car wash because the end product, the car looks spectacular. But the fact that when you roll up, you get a smiling face, you get really high level of service, you get great vacuums that are powerful. And I love that they have the accessory vacuum attachment so you can vacuum out your cup holders or whatever it might be. You're getting a good experience. You're getting a good car wash, and they value your time because you're in and out of there in 5 to 7 minutes. At Quick Quack Car Wash, make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. Jazz lose 124-111. Let's get your thoughts in here. Love that you guys are here this morning. Everybody watching the show, if you could give us a thumbs up, that would be spectacular. It helps the channel grow. Again, don't forget it, 11,000. And now it's just a matter of time. I mean, we set a lofty goal, or what we thought was a lofty goal, and you guys have really come through for us. We told you we were going to take you +1 to the last Jazz game of the year. If by my birthday we were at 11,000 subs, and we're at 10,752. So in 2 weeks, we've picked up 752 subscribers, which is in YouTube terms, that's ridiculous. I mean, that is a smoke show.
We built this program on NIL.
Thank you guys for being here. If we get to 11,000 subs by February 19th, which is my birthday, we are going to take you +1 to the Utah Jazz game. We're going to take you into the team store. You get to buy any item you want. We're going to buy it for you.
New clothing line?
No, I am not. But look, dude, this clothing line, I'm just telling you, here's the Counterpoint clothing line.
Better send those refunds.
Seriously. And the issue is, look at the price all the way at the bottom. This sweatshirt that has on the far right here, the Hardwood LS t-shirt. Oh, excuse me. It's a long sleeve t-shirt.
Not too familiar with that.
So wait, let me get this right. A long sleeve t-shirt that says Counterpoint on it.
I'm unfamiliar with it.
A blank white Jazz logo is $60 for a t-shirt. A short sleeve standard issue t-shirt is $50.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not so cheap.
This is crazy, man. This is crazy to me. I don't know what this clothing line is. I'm not interested. I am not interested in it. Let's get your thoughts in here. Let's see. Tanner Plummer says, "What's up, hacks?"
What's up?
Always good to see you, Tanner. Mr. Preston says, "Good morning, fellas. The Jazz definitely need to make some trades. Rough game last night." Kenai Johnson, who is my Jeep stalker now, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Kenai actually lives close to the Mavericks.
That's
he
right,
says he
Pete.
drives right by us every single day. Kenai, good to see you. Good morning. He says, "I totally agree the Jazz need to do something." I agree with that. Brandon Butler, a member of the program. Good morning to you, Brandon Butler. I don't think the Jazz need trades for reading's sake. They need to make trades. Not all trades are created equal. Well, you need to make meaningful trades. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Nameless School, good morning, my dudes.
Up?
What's up, Nameless School? Appreciate you being a member of the program. Thank you. Kanai said, if you was a GM, would you take Danny Ainge's phone call? I would.
Yeah.
I would. I think, talking to people around the NBA, and we make a lot of phone calls really every day and text messages, and I think there is no doubt that right now the hottest player on the trade market in the NBA is Fred VanVleet. And I think that Brooklyn is going to be very aggressive in trying to get Fred VanVleet. And I think Mike Conley is the hottest number 2 point guard. I think he's the second hottest point guard, in NBA trade circles. And I think that Mike Conley is going to get moved. And I can also tell you an NBA source yesterday told me that Jordan Clarkson's getting traded. I have my doubts about that. I have been told repeatedly that Ryan Smith has no desire to trade Jordan Clarkson. But I tell you, every NBA guy I talk to about JC says he's getting traded. Does that happen? I don't know. We'll find out. But I think there's a real good chance he gets moved. I still maintain that Malik Beasley is the hottest Utah Jazz player on the open trade market. I think Miami is still doing everything they can do. It's funny. Yesterday, we told you that Ishba, the new owner of the Phoenix Suns, had be put in place before the deadline.
Yeah.
Yesterday, he was unanimously approved by the NBA Board of Governors, 29-0. The Cleveland Cavaliers, who also are in the mortgage business, abstained, so they did not vote. The Phoenix Suns are open for business starting today because Matt Ishba is going to take over the Suns today.
Yeah.
So that deal will close, and my guess is the Suns are going to be open to trading first-round picks. And I think the Suns and the Jazz make perfect trade partners, man. Mm-hmm. So I would keep your eyes on that for sure.
There's time, by the way, too. The timing with which that deal went through, you still have time. Remember what I said last week, or maybe I said this yesterday. A day. Like 8 hours in NBA time is plenty of time to get something done. So the idea that you have 2 full days here, 3 full days really, it means that lots of things can still happen.
RR says, I thought the Mavs game would be an easy one for the Jazz. -9 going into it last night. Markkanen 1 of 7 from 3. JC playing with blinders on explains something, but still they were 15 points ahead and lost. They didn't defend.
Yeah.
They just didn't defend.
I think everybody thought that that the Jazz were just going to walk into this game and handle the Mavericks. And I think, that mindset has to change. I'm telling you, man, like every team, any team can lose on any given night in this league. I don't care who you're running out there. It's possible. And I just, this is where I say this team lacks leadership, because games like this, what I would call a letdown game, if you will, this is where you need leadership to come out and say, it's not about Dallas, it's about us. We got to come out. We got to run the sets the right way. We got to play defense the right way. We got to take the right shots. Even if we're up 30, we still got to play the game the right way. And that's what happens when you don't do that.
Yep, I totally agree. Mesh says, why don't the Jazz go after Saddiq Bey from the Pistons? Because what does Saddiq Bey bring you that you don't have? I don't think he's a special, unique, different kind of player. I think Saddiq Bey is somebody that, A, I don't think the Pistons want to trade. And B, he is not, in my opinion, he is not the power forward who transforms your defense. That's John Collins, in my opinion, who's going to help you be a far better rebounder. I think when you look at the guys that are out there available to the Jazz that we've heard about, I don't think Saddiq Bey fits into the conversations that they've been having. Frankly, now, I honestly don't know that the Dallas Mavericks are any longer a trade partner for the Jazz. Because, again, I don't believe that they were ever in a position where Dorian Finney-Smith was a desirable trade chip for Utah. Jazz sources told me that they were not interested in Dorian Finney-Smith. That's just who Dallas was offering.
Yeah.
I much more look at the Lakers. And one other thing on this Kyrie trade, anybody telling you that, that they didn't trade Kyrie Irving, the Nets didn't trade Kyrie Irving to the Lakers because the Lakers tampered, doesn't know what they're talking about. The Lakers had permission to talk to Kyrie Irving. Somebody asked me about this on Twitter yesterday. I want to make sure we clarify this. That was not our show that said that. The Nets didn't trade Kyrie to the Lakers because that's where Kyrie wanted to go. I think our reporting on that has been pretty clear and now confirmed by just about everybody that Joe Tsai was not going to give Kyrie that golden parachute that he wanted to LA. But the Lakers had permission through the Nets telling Kyrie Irving, hey, yes, you can go and talk to other teams about trades. Hey, yeah, you can talk to the Lakers, as it was explained to me, about signing an extension with them. He was given permission to do that. There was no tampering between the Lakers and the Nets. But having said that, I don't know what it is that the Mavericks can do to get Mike Conley, but I don't even know that he's a fit for them anymore. Although, I mean, Josh Green's going to have to be a hell of a backup point guard at this point. I still maintain that the Clippers are the best fit. And if Brooklyn does end up getting Fred VanVleet from Toronto, I think the Clippers then have to go all in on Mike Conley.
Right.
Because they've got to find a point guard. They've got to get the ball out of Kawhi's hands. And Paul George really is a guy that's been wearing down late in games. So I think the Clippers are a great dance partner. I also think that very clearly the Phoenix Suns and Jared Vanderbilt is a really good fit. I mean, they need that length defensively. I think if you look at what Rui Hachimura has done for the Lakers defensively, just extending his space, like what Rui has done for the Lakers is allow them to play a much more aggressive brand of defense because he covers more ground because of his length. I think that's something that Jared Vanderbilt does, but I think he needs to be surrounded by a better group of players to be a more effective defensive player, which you're seeing his shortcomings. By the way, Jared Vanderbilt didn't play last night with lower back spasms, which is to say I think they're probably close on a trade with him, but here nor there. I think you're looking at a situation with the Jazz where I still maintain I think Phoenix, Atlanta, and Miami are the three teams, and then on Mike Conley specifically, I think the LA Clippers are the other team that I would expect to be aggressive with the Utah Jazz. Louis Capazzo, good morning from the GZ. He says it's a beautiful day on the Showroom. Yes, it is. Gage Carter, what's up? He says John Collins in Utah, please.
Yeah.
I'm kind of split on the importance of that trade. I mean, you need a power forward. The biggest hole in this lineup, in my opinion, is a power forward. Because Laurie's not that. Laurie is a 3. In my opinion, he's a shooting forward. He's not. I don't think he's physical enough to check 4s in this league on a daily basis. I think John Collins at the 4, Walker Kessler at the 5, Laurie at the 3, and then whatever you end up with at the 2. I mean, you have a lot of options at guard on this team.
Yeah.
Which is, again, why I say that Talon Horton-Tucker should, in his $10 million should be traded. But we'll see. What's up, Glenn in San Diego? Who's or the San Diego State fan, Glenn, who's a member of the program. Good morning to you. Matt Ritson says, good morning, Jake and Monty. Good morning,
Hello.
Matt. Always good to see you. What's up, Pudge NYC, who says, we'll trade you Obi for Vanderbilt. Well, Obi Toppin's a guy that's been continually linked to the Jazz, and I'm not such an Obi Toppin fan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily believe that Obi Toppin's a 20-minute-a-night guy at any point in his NBA career.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that you like about Obi, though, is size. You know, the thing about him is, isn't he's 6'10" or so, I believe, and has good weight behind him. So if you could ever get him, you know, into a place where he was willing to play, you know, regular defense and was willing to provide for you on that end of the floor, I think that becomes valuable. And that's why this whole conversation around, you know, development and like Will Hardy and, you know, defense, like that's why it's so important, because if you were to make a Obi Toppin for Vando deal, I would hope that you would take a step forward defensively. Like, I love Vando, I love the energy, I love the way he plays the game, but the reality is he's still pretty raw talent and he's a little undersized for what you're asking him to do. And so to me, it's like, all right, yeah, I guess, you know, if you want to make that deal for Obi Toppin, that's cool. I don't think that transforms anything. I still think you're just trading one project for another project. That's the difference.
Yeah, I think Obi's got skill, but he is a very limited player. Like, he's not a guy that you can play on a regular basis. So I don't know why now, for a guy that averages 6 points and 3 rebounds, why you would bring him here. And again, I love his size and his length. I mean, he's 6'9", 220. I mean, he's got phenomenal size. I just don't know that he's that he is a 20-minute guy. And if where this Jazz club is, a guy like Obi Toppin is a huge project. And I just don't think he's a great fit. Art H, good morning to you. He says, Jazz should be ashamed of themselves. Trade Clarkson and Conley ASAP. Well, I think Mike Conley, is playing actually very good basketball.
Yeah.
I think in the first half we saw Mike Conley was very effective. I just think in the second half this team stood around and watched the game. Like they should have all bought tickets. Like they just were not plugged in, active, and aggressive, especially on defense. And everything you love about JC, you hate about JC. I mean, the guy just continues to shoot no matter what. And it's when you shoot the way they shot last night, 6 for 31, I think, from 3, 18%. They were terrible from 3. And at some point you've got to, you just got to be who you are, which is a 3-point shooting team. But you also might want to try going to the basket. Yeah, and he had 26, and I totally get that.
I just think this team doesn't have a guy, a core guy. Like, I know Lauri's the all-star, and he's the best player, and that's great. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but they lack that, and I don't know if you want to call it a glue guy or whatever, but a guy that steps up and says, dude, like, this is not good enough. Like, it's not good enough what we're doing right now, and we got to get back to basics. And someone needed to be saying that, like, probably halfway through the second quarter. Like, you needed to kind of change the narrative through the game early in this game, and that's what I hope at a minimum they're able to find through some of these trades. And I'm with you. Like, I know a lot of people are saying they're going to trade JC, but we know for a fact Ryan does not want to trade Jordan Clarkson. We know that. That's just not in question. So I don't know, man. I just think that this team is in a very interesting spot, and this is why I keep saying this trade deadline it's not just about making trades. It's about defining the direction that this organization's going to take in the coming months.
Yep, the Monty Show is presented by The Advocates. Find them online at theadvocates.com.
We got stuck in traffic at a construction zone, and I got rear-ended at 80 miles an hour, so I needed help. They just stepped in and pretty much took care of everything. If you're in a motor vehicle accident or situation, call The Advocates.
Chat with an attorney live online right now at theadvocates.com. There's a little button on their website. You just click it. You can talk to an attorney 24/7, 365. And don't forget, you never come out of pocket to work with the Advocates. In fact, you don't pay the Advocates until they win your case. Hello to our friends in Phoenix. We love all of our guys in Arizona. Guess what? The Advocates just opened an office in Arizona. Make sure you tell them you found them on the Monty Show. Talking Jazz basketball coming up here in 13 minutes. Sean Payton and Russell Wilson already off to an interesting start. And why is it Jake Heap's fault in Denver?
It's not going to take place here.
Is Jake Heap's the problem with Russell Wilson? We'll talk about that. Big update on Kyler Murray. This video of him working out. Wait until you see this video of Kyler Murray working out. It's amazing. I mean, it's an exclusive on the Monty Show, too.
Only here.
It's
what do you bet?
Good morning, Ian. He says, D-Wade and Ryan Smith played the horse together before the game. They are BFFs, no worries. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying they had a falling out. It's not the same. There had been rumors that Dwayne Wade wanted to and then did sell his interest in the team. The Jazz confirmed for me that's not the case. He has clearly not been around as much. That's something I would keep an eye on.
Hey, Zaire's not here either, by the way.
By the way, did you see that Zaire signed in Africa? He is playing in Cape Town in the Basketball Africa League. Mm-hmm. So congratulations to him. I just think it's something I would keep an eye on. Like, listen, I'm not telling you that Ryan Smith and Dwayne Wade don't have a relationship, or it's not the same. They used to sit in the same seats right next to each other every night. And then what happened? Dwayne Wade disappeared for months at a time. Mm-hmm. And, Gabby, his wife, Gabrielle Union, then goes on her podcast and talks about how he's freed himself up from the Jazz. And I'm telling you, it's not nothing.
Yeah.
It's not nothing. That's all I'm saying. Brett Stubbs, good morning to you. He says, where is Joe Ingles when we need him? Jazz should talk him into retiring, and as an assistant coach, he just hassles Jazz players. Well, I think certainly we saw the value in Joe Ingles when he left the club. I don't think there was any doubt about the fact that the locker room got much worse once Joe was traded to Portland after he hurt his knee. And I think, I don't know, I just watching him in Milwaukee this year, I think Joe's got a lot left to offer.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy can still shoot at a very high level.
And I think Joe is contributing on a championship club, and I think he's in a great spot. And I don't think that it's fair to be like, yeah, like they should, Brett, with all due respect, like they're not going to go after Brett, or they're not going to go after Joe. Be like, yeah, dude, you should retire and come here, and you should be a hard ass in the locker room. That's not who Joe Ingles is. That's not like that's not how he speaks to other players. Like Joe is a glue guy because he's friends with everybody and he can bring people together. He's not going to go up to Colin Sexton and be like, hey, like you got to do this. Like he's going to be like, hey man, like you need to consider a couple different things. Like you need to understand that Will Hardy has a system and he wants you to play a certain way to maximize your success. Like it's just a different approach.
Yeah. See, I'm worried about that because I want to believe that Will Hardy has his hands on the defense. I just don't see that. I don't. By the way, Brett also makes a good point. Jake not wearing black is throwing me off. Like, hey, look, man, I'm here for you. I'm here, Team Black. Mm-hmm. Then there's this guy who's wearing like a shirt with golf clubs on it.
Yeah, it's a nice shirt. We have things to do after the show.
Yeah, you have things to do after the show. Matt Webb says, Jake's a new man, free of sin.
Well, this is the show of sinners.
Duh.
Sinners.
Duh. Oscar says, let the Wemby sweepstakes begin. Yeah, good luck with that.
I'm not here for that, man.
Well, and you don't need the sweepstakes. The best example I can give you of this is if they were all in on Victor Wembanyama, the assumed number one pick in the NBA draft, big tall kid, weighs like 13 pounds total. Like his body weight is 13 pounds. But
his name is John.
Well, John weighs much more than 13 pounds. I think John's left nut weighs 13 pounds. I could be wrong. But you look at Victor Wembanyama, he's 7'4", I think. He's a project, but he's going to be the number one pick in the draft. I don't think there's any doubt about that. You have enough players and picks to make that trade today if you wanted to. You just wouldn't do much. You would just keep acquiring draft picks and put you in a better spot to make that trade. But what has Danny Ainge said, and what has Danny Ainge done? We're not here for a full rebuild.
Right.
Danny Ainge is doing here what he did in Boston. You're going to rip apart the salary cap, get your financial house in order. You're going to trade off your older pieces, and you are going to set your salary cap up so that you can quickly flip and rebuild into a championship contender in 3 years. That's what they did in Boston. That's exactly what I think he's doing now. And I think he's done a fine job to this point. We'll see. I don't know. Football 50 coming up in 7 minutes. Stick around for that. Marsing Outdoor. Good morning, Marsing. We are a 500 team. We're fine and exceeding this year's expectations. Pile of picks and a few solid guys for the future. Win-win. And the next 2 years will be fun. That's very interesting. Because didn't you have an expectation that this would be a 20-30 win team?
Yeah.
Well, I think you did. And now when you look at the Utah Jazz, I think those expectations have changed based on what you have here in the roster. You're 27-28 now, under 500, and there's no excuse for it.
Yeah, that doesn't make it okay what happened last night. I mean, it just doesn't.
You're not working hard. You're not running back on defense. You're not playing transition defense. That's the story of last night.
And it's really interesting. Will Hardy's path and career as a coach would suggest that defense would be on the forefront. I mean, when you come through Boston's system and you obviously have a ton of time under Danny, and it's no secret what those great Boston teams did. I mean, and again, I know the league is different, and I know that's a different game, and we don't like to compare eras on this show, but just when you look at Will Hardy's path and the guys he'd been around, those Boston teams were physical defensive teams, and then they went on offense and did their thing. And to me, it's I don't know. Part of me, a big part of me, 80% of me is yeah, they just came out lazy last night. There's no other way around it. I know that's not comfortable to say, and it sounds kind of bad, but that's what happened. You just didn't come out with that fire and that energy. But another 20% of me is saying, hey, yeah, this is on Will Hardy, but this is also on some of these players. And I appreciate that Laurie said he had to be better after the game. I really do appreciate that. But that's where I say, hey, for everything Laurie is, he's not a vocal leader. He's not someone that's going to like set the tone and say, hey, this isn't good enough. And so that's why I say, at the deadline, I might be trying to add a guy like that. I might be trying to look for, they're trying to trade for all these different names you've heard. Maybe within that, in a 3-team deal, you can pick up a vocal leader. Maybe, you can find a way to get someone like that. Because I'm telling you, the coach's voice only goes so far. That said, last night is still incredibly unacceptable on like a number of levels.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting when you look. I'm actually looking at Danny Ainge's moves in Boston. I mean, he was shrewd. I mean, you look at the trade, July 12, 2013, traded Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Jason Terry, and DJ White, a 2017 first-round pick that turned into Kyle Kuzma, and a 2017 second-round pick to Brooklyn for Keith Bogans, Marshawn Brooks, and Chris Humphries, Chris Joseph, and Gerald Wallace. Like, he got a slew of picks in that deal, and Brooklyn went on to do absolutely nothing with those guys. And you wound up essentially rebuilding your organization, and then you traded a 2017 first-round pick that turned into Markelle Fultz to Philadelphia for a 2017 first-round pick that turned into Jason Tatum. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. You look at the Doc Rivers trade. I don't know how many people remember they traded Doc Rivers to the Clippers for a 2017 first-round pick. Like, it's that kind of dealing that Danny Ainge has done that you're watching him do now. And I think when you look at the way that they went out and they got Ray Allen and they got Kevin Garnett, and that's the attitude that this franchise is operating on. To do that, you have to have a lot of draft assets. And hey, if you wind up, they have 3 first-round picks right now, in arguably the deepest class in the history of the NBA draft in the first round. Like, he's in good shape. He is in good shape. RR wants to know, Jake, dating LDS girls again?
No, I don't remember ever dating LDS girls.
No, I'm not playing this game with you where, I'm just telling you, Jake has dating issues. Who is the girl here? Is there a girl here? Holy cow. Everybody relax. I don't know if there's a girl here.
Amber's not here.
Amber's not here this morning. The best TBE DK is not here.
No, she's not here either.
Jeff Johnson said, I thought Jake looked weird. What is up with everybody commenting on your look today?
It's a shirt. Like, it's a shirt, bro.
Again, black, quarter zip. This is the wardrobe. And then this jamoke shows up in a golf shirt with golf clubs on it.
Which is, just kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't understand what we're doing. I don't understand. I mean,
I'm not too familiar with that.
Yeah, Tanner Plummer says, is more betters where the sinners go, Jake?
Hell yeah, it is. I'll eat more betters every day, bro.
Listen, if Mo Bettas is for sinners, I'm going to hell. I'm telling you that
let's
right
go.
now. Let's see. Matthew Webb says they drafted Tatum, though. That's the difference, yeah? Let's see. Can Danny draft a Jason Tatum this year? I don't know. We'll see. Brett Stubbs says last night was embarrassing. I don't disagree with that. RRR says the shirt has vibes. More comments on your stupid Nike golf shirt.
This is my favorite polo shirt in my collection. It's I have probably 10 polos. They're all different colors.
You're gonna stand up and show the people.
I mean,
what's the fit look like today?
Dude, like it's a gray polo shirt. Wow, that's can you zoom that thing out a little bit or
Okay, that's the look. That's the fit today. White polo shirt and gray jeans. Got some J1s on. Got the Jordan 1 mids on.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Gray and white. I don't know what the issue is.
Yeah, we all feel better now. You now know Jake's fit. Is that okay now?
I can go and get a black vest that's hanging over here if that would make you guys feel better. I mean, I know I'm no fashionista, but
But you wear, the thing I don't understand is you wear the North Face vest every day when you have a perfectly good Oakley vest as well. Mm-hmm. That I bought you, by the way.
Yeah, I wear the Oakley vest sometimes. The North Face one is warmer.
Okay. Tanner says it's not the shirt, Jake. It's just that we're so used to you wearing Jake Black. It's a little weird. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
Raphael says Jake doing the runway with the new shirt.
And that's the funny part. It's not even a new shirt. I've worn this shirt on the show before.
Yeah.
And it's gone unnoticed. So it's like today, I don't know, man. Did I put a polo on today?
No, I just have a long sleeve. It's the, what do they call the Jazz new brand, Pop Culture or whatever the garbage
Counterpoint.
Counterpoint.
Yeah.
It's a all black, so you can't see the Counterpoint or the Jazz logo.
That's stupid.
Trust me, bro. Anyway.